You mistake emotion for honesty and reaction for strength. That is why others control the outcome while you explain yourself, lose leverage, and slowly disappear from positions you thought were yours. You were trained to believe that calm means passive, silence means weakness, and restraint is something you use only when you're already losing. That belief was not accidental. It was installed, slowly, socially, systematically, because a man who stays calm without understanding power is easy to dominate. If reacting feels natural to you, it is because you were conditioned to leak control. Look around. The people who control rooms rarely raise their voice. They do not explain themselves. They do not rush to be understood. They let others speak first, reveal intent, leak insecurity. While you were taught to clarify, justify, and emotionally signal goodness, they were taught something else entirely. Stillness creates authority. Here is the shift you were never given. Calm is not politeness. Calm is leverage. When you react emotionally, you give information. When you rush to respond, you surrender timing. When you explain yourself, you confess uncertainty. None of this makes you honest. It makes you readable. And in any environment where humans compete, work, relationships, status, being readable means being predictable. Predictable men are managed, used, replaced. Power does not announce itself. It observes. It waits. It lets others burn energy, proving worth, while it conserves strength. That is why the calm man unnerves people. They cannot locate him. They cannot pressure him. They cannot provoke him into revealing position. You think confidence comes from inner belief. That is the lie. Confidence comes from control of reactions, from refusing to participate in emotional exchanges that do not serve you, from understanding that urgency is usually manufactured by people who want something from you. Notice who pressures you to respond quickly. Notice who becomes uncomfortable when you pause. That discomfort is not about time. It is about lost control. The moment you stop filling silence, power shifts. Silence forces the other person to move, to talk, to justify, to expose. Silence is not emptiness. It is a weaponized space where the weaker side bleeds information. This is why calm men are often misunderstood. They are not indifferent. They are selective. They do not give emotional access to everyone. They do not perform transparency for approval. They understand that access is currency, and currency is never handed out freely. You were taught that being good would protect you, that fairness would be rewarded, that if you stayed composed but open, the world would meet you halfway. That worldview collapses the moment you encounter ambition without morality, and you will, repeatedly. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that people do not follow virtue. They follow certainty. They submit to those who appear unshakable, even when they are wrong, especially when they are calm while being wrong, because calm signals control, and control feels like safety to unstable minds. This is the uncomfortable truth. People trust those who seem least affected by consequences. The calm you need is not emotional suppression. It is emotional discipline, the refusal to leak inner states to environments that do not deserve them, the ability to let others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. When you stop reacting, you start seeing. Patterns emerge. Motivations become obvious. The desperation behind aggression becomes visible. And once you see that, fear dissolves, because fear requires confusion. Most men never experience this shift. They stay trapped in performance, trying to look confident, trying to sound smart, trying to be liked. Calm men do not try. They position. They choose when to speak, when to act, when to withdraw. Withdrawal, done correctly, is not retreat. It is recalibration. You do not need to dominate conversations. You need to dominate outcomes. And outcomes are decided long before words are exchanged, by posture, by pace, by who needs who more. The calm man is never in a hurry because he does not chase validation. He lets the world come to him. And when it does, he decides what stays and what leaves. From this point forward, everything changes, not because you become louder or harder, but because you stop bleeding energy into spaces designed to drain you. And once you master that calm, people will feel it long before they understand it. The moment you understand the mechanism beneath calm, you stop confusing it with personality and start using it as strategy. Calm is not who you are. Calm is what happens when your nervous system is no longer hijacked by external stimulus. And whoever controls stimulus controls behavior. Most people live in reaction loops. A look triggers emotion. A tone triggers defensiveness. A delay triggers anxiety. These reactions feel natural, but they are engineered. Social systems reward predictability because predictable people are easy to steer. The world is full of invisible levers, and emotional reactivity is the handle. Here is the mechanism. Emotion collapses time. When you feel something intensely, you want immediate relief. Relief comes from action. Speaking, explaining, attacking, apologizing. That urgency shortens your decision window. Short windows create bad decisions. Bad decisions create dependence. Dependence creates hierarchy. This is how power structures form without anyone noticing. Calm breaks that chain. When you feel provoked and do nothing, the stimulus loses power. When you delay a response, the emotional spike decays. When the spike decays, clarity returns. And clarity is the enemy of manipulation. This is why manipulative people escalate quickly. They are racing against your nervous system calming down. They need you emotional. They need you fast. They need you explaining. Once you see this, every interaction changes. Arguments are no longer about truth. They are about tempo. Whoever controls tempo controls direction. The calm person sets tempo by refusing to mirror intensity. They slow the room down until everyone else feels exposed. This is not passive. This is predatory patience. Notice how often pressure is disguised as concern. Just answer. Why are you quiet? Say something. These are not requests. They are attempts to pull you back into the reaction loop. Silence threatens people who rely on emotional leverage because it removes their grip. Calm also disrupts projection. Most aggression is projection. People externalizing their internal chaos. When you react, you validate their projection. When you stay still, it rebounds back onto them. That rebound is uncomfortable. They feel seen. They feel naked. And most will either retreat or reveal more than they intended. This is where power quietly accumulates. Another layer of the mechanism is scarcity. Emotional energy is finite. Every reaction costs you. Every explanation drains you. Calm is conservation. You stop spending energy on low-return interactions and start reserving it for moments that actually move outcomes. That conservation changes your posture. Your voice lowers. Your movements slow. Your decisions become deliberate. Others feel this shift before they can name it. Humans are wired to sense nervous system states. A regulated system signals dominance. An agitated system signals threat or weakness, often both. This is why calm men are often described as intimidating without doing anything. It's not presence, it's regulation. Their internal stillness creates external gravity. There's also a moral inversion happening here that most people resist. You are taught that explaining yourself is virtuous, that transparency equals trust, that being emotionally open is strength. In reality, constant explanation is a plea for validation, and validation-seeking behavior lowers status. High-status individuals do not over-clarify. They let others catch up. They do not rush to correct misunderstandings. They allow misinterpretation. If correcting, it would cost leverage. This is not cruelty. It is economy. Calm allows you to choose when clarity serves you and when ambiguity protects you. The deepest layer of this mechanism is identity. When your sense of self depends on being understood, liked, or approved of, you'll always be reactive. Calm requires a different anchor. You stop deriving identity from response and start deriving it from internal alignment. You know who you are before the room decides. That certainty removes the need to perform. Once that happens, emotional triggers lose their grip. Insults feel hollow. Pressure feels theatrical. Deadlines feel negotiable. You begin to see how much of the world runs on artificial urgency and emotional theater, and you stop participating. This is why calm is dangerous, not because it is aggressive, but because it is ungovernable. You cannot rush a calm man. You cannot shame him into movement. You cannot confuse him into compliance. He moves when it serves him. He speaks when it shifts advantage. He stays silent when others are desperate for noise. That is the mechanism. Everything that follows builds on this foundation. Without mastering it, tactics fail. Strategies collapse. Power slips through your hands. With it, you stop reacting to the world and start shaping how the world reacts to you. Once you understand a mechanism, you start recognizing the patterns. Calm is not evenly distributed. Certain behavioral archetypes either possess it naturally or are forced to simulate it to survive. Others never develop it at all and pay the price repeatedly. The first archetype is the reactor. This is the most common type. The reactor lives externally. His emotional state is determined by messages, tones, delays, expressions. He is always responding, never arriving. When challenged, he explains. When ignored, he panics. When disrespected, he overcorrects. His nervous system is public property. Reactors are not weak in intelligence. Many are sharp, skilled, even talented. Their failure is timing. They move too fast when they should wait, and they wait too long when action is required. Because they are predictable, they are easy to dominate. Push here, reaction. Pull there, compliance. Power structures love reactors. Reactors keep hierarchies stable. The second archetype is a performer. Performers mistake confidence for expression. They speak loudly, gesture broadly, project certainty. On the surface, they look powerful. In reality, they are constantly leaking information. Every word reveals position. Every reaction shows need. They confuse visibility with control. Performers often rise quickly and fall just as fast. They attract attention but cannot hold leverage. The moment pressure increases, their emotional volume spikes. Calm disappears. Their authority collapses under scrutiny because it was never rooted in regulation, only presentation. Then there is the appeaser. Appeasers fear tension more than loss. They sacrifice leverage to restore harmony. They explain to smooth things over. They apologize to shorten conflict. They believe calm comes from eliminating friction, not mastering it. But friction is where power clarifies. Appeasers are respected privately and ignored publicly. People trust them emotionally but never follow them strategically. They are safe, but safety does not command. The next archetype is rare, the observer. Observers speak little and notice everything. They are not passive, they are processing. While others react, observers collect data. Who rushes? Who interrupts? Who fills silence? Who grows uncomfortable when ignored? These details reveal dominant structures instantly. Observers don't need to win arguments. They let others expose themselves. Calm is natural to them because they are not invested in immediate validation. Their power comes from delayed action. When they move, it feels inevitable. Then there is the enforcer. Enforcers are calm not because they are detached, but because they are prepared. Their stillness comes from certainty of consequence. They do not argue. They do not persuade. They wait until lines are crossed, then act decisively. People often mistake enforcers for cold or emotionless. In truth, they feel deeply, but never publicly. Their emotions are private fuel, not public signal. This archetype dominates environments where boundaries matter more than opinions. Finally, there's the most dangerous archetype, the strategist. Strategists combine observation with enforcement. They understand reactors, manipulate performers, sidestep appeasers, and respect other strategists. Their calm is not personality. It is weaponized patience. Strategists know that most people self-sabotage under silence. They allow others to overextend, overexplain, and overcommit. They let emotional people burn their own bridges. Then they step forward when the field is cleared. Strategists rarely announce intent. They operate on asymmetry. Others think they are slow until results appear fully formed. Here's a critical truth. You are not locked into an archetype. Most men rotate between reactor, performer, and appeaser depending on context. Calm mastery is the process of exiting those cycles and consciously moving toward observer and strategist behavior. The transition is uncomfortable because it feels like loss of self. You stop expressing. You stop correcting. You stop seeking immediate resolution. For a while, it feels like invisibility. But invisibility is where leverage grows. When you no longer rush to be understood, others lean in. When you stop reacting, others adjust. When you stop explaining, others project authority onto you. This is not manipulation. It is psychological gravity. And gravity always favors the stillest mass. In the next phase, this calm will be tested. Not gently, but aggressively. Pressure, provocation, and manufactured urgency will increase the moment you stop reacting. That is not coincidence. That is the system trying to pull you back. Understanding these archetypes prepares you for what comes next, how the world escalates when it cannot control you easily, and why most people break at that point. Calm is easy in isolation. It is forged under threat. Calm does not become valuable until it is challenged, and it will be challenged. The moment you stop reacting the way people expect, pressure increases, voices rise, deadlines tighten, accusations appear. This is not random. It is selection. Unstable environments expose truth faster than comfortable ones. In chaos, emotional men reveal themselves immediately. They rush. They panic. They overcommit. They cling to certainty even when certainty no longer exists. Calm men do the opposite. They slow down. They wait. They let instability do the sorting for them. History rewards this pattern relentlessly. In courts, in wars, in collapsing systems, the men who survived were never the most expressive. They were the ones who could endure ambiguity without losing internal order. When alliances fractured and rules dissolved, emotional men search for reassurance. Calm men search for position. Machiavelli observed this repeatedly. Power transfers during confusion, not clarity. When structures weaken, people look for someone who appears unshaken, not morally superior, not louder, simply unmovable. Calm communicates something primal, continuity. When others are uncertain, the calm man signals that he is not dependent on the system staying intact. He appears adaptable, dangerous, necessary. People align with that instinctively, not because they trust him, but because instability makes them fear being wrong alone. This is why calm men rise during collapse. Human nature hates uncertainty. The brain seeks anchors. Emotional displays provide no anchor because they shift constantly. Calm provides one because it is consistent. Even if the calm man is wrong, he feels safer to follow than the emotional man who might change direction tomorrow. Look at competitive environments, markets, politics, leadership struggles. The ones who win are rarely the most passionate. They are the most regulated. They do not chase every fluctuation. They do not announce panic. They let volatility exhaust others while they conserve strength. Calm is not indecision. It is selective engagement. Most men lose power because they confuse movement with progress. They respond to every signal, attend every conflict, comment on every provocation. This creates the illusion of relevance while draining actual influence. Calm men understand that presence is most powerful when it is rare. Scarcity amplifies authority. When you are not constantly available emotionally, people assign weight to your reactions. Silence becomes anticipation. Delay becomes significance. You do not need to assert importance. It is projected onto you by those who need resolution. This dynamic becomes more intense when stakes rise. Under pressure, emotional men seek validation. They explain themselves loudly to reassure their own doubt. Calm men allow doubt to exist without trying to resolve it publicly. That restraint unsettles people. It creates asymmetry. One side is exposed, the other is not. This is where fear emerges. Not fear of violence, fear of unpredictability. Humans fear what they cannot read. Calm men are unreadable not because they hide, but because they are not leaking. No emotional tells, no urgency, no defense. The environment responds by escalating tactics. Emotional pressure becomes moral pressure. Silence is framed as arrogance. Patience is labeled manipulation. This is a system testing whether your calm is real or cosmetic. Most men break here. They explain themselves to restore social comfort. They speak to defend reputation. They react to avoid being misunderstood. And the moment they do, their calm collapses. Authority dissolves. They are pulled back into the emotional economy, where approval determines value. Those who remain calm pass through the filter. They accept misunderstanding. They allow misinterpretation. They tolerate discomfort. They understand that reputation can be repaired, but leverage cannot be regained once surrendered. This is the brutal truth Machiavelli pointed to. Power favors those willing to be temporarily disliked to maintain long-term position. Calm men accept short-term tension to preserve strategic advantage. Emotional men relieve tension immediately and pay for it later in lost control. You are witnessing this every day, even if you don't name it. In meetings where the quiet voice dominates decisions. In negotiations where the person least eager to close wins. In conflicts where the one who says less walks away with more. Calm is not respected because it is kind. It is respected because it signals readiness for consequence. The man who can stay calm under threat appears capable of acting without hesitation when the moment arrives. Others sense this subconsciously. They defer not because they are convinced, but because they do not want to test him. This is the final layer of the threat. Calm suggests restraint, not incapacity. It implies that something is being held back, and people are instinctively cautious around what feels contained. By this point, one thing should be clear. Calm is not a behavioral trick. It is a selection advantage. It determines who rises when systems destabilize and who disappears quietly. What remains is learning how to use it deliberately, without confusing restraint for passivity. That shift is where most men fail. Calm becomes dangerous only when it is applied deliberately. Without direction, restraint turns into passivity. With strategy, it becomes control. This is where most men fail, not because they lack calm, but because they don't know when to deploy it and when to break it. The first rule is timing. Calm is not permanent silence. It is delayed response. You do not rush to speak when provoked, but you also do not disappear indefinitely. You wait until the other side has revealed enough to make your response decisive. Timing converts silence into leverage. Speak too early and you negotiate from weakness. Speak too late and you lose relevance. The calm operator speaks when the environment is primed to receive impact. The second rule is selectivity. Not every situation deserves your attention. Most conflicts are designed to drain energy, not resolve outcomes. Calm men do not engage with everything that challenges them. They choose which battles shape position and which are noise. This selectivity creates hierarchy automatically. When you do not respond to every stimulus, others learn that access to you is limited, and limited access creates perceived value. The third rule is containment. Calm does not mean emotional absence. It means emotional privacy. You feel anger, frustration, ambition, but you do not display on command. You decide when emotion is shown and when it is withheld. This containment prevents others from mapping your internal state. If they cannot read you, they cannot plan against you. Most men leak emotion through microbehaviors, changes in tone, defensive explanations, justifications disguised as clarity. Calm operators eliminate these leaks. Their voice remains steady, their posture unchanged, their pacing controlled. They understand that consistency under pressure communicates more authority than any argument. The fourth rule is silence is pressure. Silence is most effective when others expect response. In negotiations, pauses force concessions. In arguments, stillness shifts discomfort outward. In leadership, withholding immediate answers signals that decisions are not impulsive. Silence compels others to fill the gap, And when they do, they expose priorities, insecurities, and limits. This is why silence must be intentional. Random quiet is ignored. Strategic silence is felt. The fifth rule is decisive interruption. Calm does not mean endless patience. There are moments when restraint ends and action begins. Calm makes that transition clean. When a boundary is crossed, response is immediate and final. No escalation, no drama, no explanation, just consequence. This is what separates dangerous calm from weakness. Weak calm avoids conflict. Dangerous calm ends it. People test boundaries instinctively. When calm men enforce boundaries once, clearly and without emotional display, tests stop. Others learn that calm does not equal softness. It equals readiness. The sixth rule is withdrawal. Withdrawal is not retreat. It is repositioning. Calm men leave situations that no longer serve them without announcing departure. They do not argue to be understood. They do not explain exits. They disappear and let absence speak. Scarcity intensifies perception. People reconsider behavior when access is removed. This applies to relationships, negotiations, social dynamics, and power structures. The person who can leave without explanation controls a frame. Others must adjust. The final rule is internal alignment. Calm collapses if you seek validation. If you need approval, silence feels unbearable. If your identity depends on being liked, restraint feels like loss. Dangerous calm requires independence of self-image. You decide your value before interaction begins. This internal alignment removes urgency. Without urgency, manipulation fails. Without manipulation, clarity emerges, and clarity allows you to act from advantage rather than reaction. Strategic calm is not about appearing superior. It is about operating from a position where others cannot rush, shame, or provoke you into disadvantage. It is composure backed by willingness to act decisively when required. Most men either talk too much or wait too long. Calm operators do neither. They wait until movement matters, then move without hesitation. Once you internalize these rules, calm stops being something you practice and becomes something others feel. The room adjusts, conversations slow, pressure shifts. You are no longer reacting to the environment. The environment is reacting to you. The final obstacle is not external. It is internal. Calm does not fail because the world resists it. Calm fails because your old identity cannot survive it. You have lived most of your life as a reactive identity. That identity was shaped by reward and punishment. Speak up, get noticed. Explain yourself. Avoid conflict. Show emotion, earn connection. Over time, these behaviors stopped being choices and became reflexes. Your sense of self fused with reaction. You felt real only when responding. You felt safe only when understood. That identity must die, not metaphorically, functionally, because dangerous calm cannot coexist with self that needs validation. The moment you need to be seen as good, fair, reasonable, or emotionally open, your restraint collapses. You speak when you should wait. You explain when you should observe. You react when you should let pressure do the work for you. This is why most men fail here. They try to add calm on top of an identity built on emotional expression. That does not work. Calm is not an accessory. It is a replacement. The old identity believes reaction equals authenticity. The new identity understands that authenticity without control is exposure. The old identity thinks silence is dishonest. The new identity knows silence is selective truth. The old identity seeks resolution. The new identity seeks position. This shift feels violent internally because it removes familiar emotional feedback. When you stop reacting, you feel empty at first, detached, invisible. Your nervous system has been trained to associate expression with existence. Silence feels like disappearance. That discomfort is not weakness. It is withdrawal from dependency. As the reactive identity dies, something else takes its place. You begin to experience interactions differently. Words lose urgency. Provocation feels obvious. Emotional pressure looks mechanical. You stop personalizing behavior because you can see the structure beneath it. This is the birth of the operator mindset. The operator does not ask how to be perceived. He asks how outcomes are shaped. He does not measure success by emotional harmony, but by positional advantage. He understands that some misunderstandings are useful. Some tensions are productive. Some conflicts reveal more than resolution ever could. The operator is calm not because he is indifferent, but because he is anchored. His self-worth is internal. His direction is fixed. He does not outsource identity to the room. This identity replacement has consequences. People will change around you. Some will feel unsettled. They were accustomed to your emotional availability. Your explanations made them comfortable. Your reactions reassured them. When that disappears, they lose leverage. They may label you distant, cold, arrogant, or manipulative. That labeling is irrelevant. It is friction between old expectations and new boundaries. Others will respect you more without knowing why. Conversations will shift. Interruptions will decrease. Requests will become more careful. You will notice people choosing their words around you. This is not fear. It is recalibration. The operator identity does not seek this response. It simply allows it. There is also loss. Some connections will dissolve. Relationships built on emotional access and reaction cannot survive calm. They require constant reassurance. When you stop providing it, they collapse. This is not failure. It is filtration. Selection always looks like loss from the inside. What remains are interactions based on mutual respect, not emotional dependency. Fewer, but stronger, cleaner, more honest in a way that does not require confession. At this stage, calm is no longer something you consciously maintain. It becomes default. Your nervous system adjusts. Silence no longer feels awkward. Delay no longer feels risky. You trust your timing because you trust your judgment. This is when calm becomes dangerous, not because you threaten, not because you dominate, but because you cannot be rushed, shamed, or provoked into disadvantage. You have removed the hooks. The world is full of men who are intelligent, capable, and ambitious, yet perpetually controlled because their identity leaks through reaction. They never lose outright. They just never win decisively. The operator wins quietly. He does not announce transformation. He does not seek recognition. He simply stops behaving in ways that make him manageable. Over time, the environment adjusts to him rather than the other way around. This is the point of no return. Once you internalize this identity, you cannot unsee the mechanics of power. Emotional exchanges look inefficient. Over-explanation looks weak. Urgency looks suspicious. You no longer wish to be louder. You wish to be precise. The reactive self fades. The operator remains. And from that position, calm is no longer something you practice. It is who you are when pressure arrives. This is where the line is drawn, not between good and bad, not between right and wrong, but between those who are governed and those who govern themselves. Dangerous calm is not a lifestyle preference. It is a filter. Once you adopt it, the world begins selecting around you. Some people will move closer. Many will move away. That outcome is not negotiable. It is the cost of sovereignty. Most men believe power arrives through accumulation. More knowledge, more confidence, more status. That belief keeps them chasing. Calm ends the chase. Calm removes a hunger that makes men manipulable. And once hunger disappears, leverage shifts permanently. Here is the final truth Machiavelli understood, and most men refuse to accept. Power does not reward intention. It rewards positioning. And positioning is maintained by restraint, not expression. Every time you choose not to react, you are refusing to play a rigged exchange. Every time you delay response, you force others to reveal priority. Every time you remain composed under pressure, you signal readiness for consequence. These signals are read instantly, long before words register. This is why dangerous calm feels unsettling to others. It cannot be negotiated with emotionally. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be shamed. It sits outside the normal levers people use to influence behavior. When you become calm in this way, you will notice patterns immediately. People will test you once. sometimes twice. They will probe for emotional access. They will attempt to provoke a familiar reaction. When it does not come, they recalibrate. Some will adjust respectfully. Others will disengage. That disengagement is not rejection. It is removal of inefficiency. The world does not punish calm men. It reorganizes around them. This is also why dangerous calm cannot be taught to everyone. It requires tolerance for misunderstanding. It requires the ability to hold tension without resolving it publicly. It requires walking away from validation and allowing silence to speak on your behalf. Most men cannot do this. They confuse attention with relevance. They confuse expression with authenticity. They confuse emotional openness with strength. Calm exposes these illusions quickly, and exposure is painful. If you have made it this far, you already know which side you are on. Either you feel resistance, an urge to explain, to argue, to soften what you have heard, or you feel recognition, a quiet clarity, a sense that something here aligns with what you have already observed but never articulated. That recognition is not comfort. It is responsibility. From this point forward, you cannot pretend ignorance. You will notice when you are being rushed. You will recognize when explanations are demanded as a form of control. You will feel the moment silence would give you advantage, and the moment speech would surrender it. You will also understand that calm does not protect you from conflict. It prepares you for it. This is the final warning. Dangerous calm will cost you relationships built on emotional dependency. It will remove you from spaces where chaos is normalized. It will isolate you temporarily while your environment adjusts, but it will also make you unmovable. You will not be pressured into decisions that harm your position. You will not be dragged into emotional exchanges that drain your leverage. You will not confuse urgency with importance. And when you choose to act, it will be decisive, clean, and irreversible. That is the difference between appearing powerful and being powerful. Most men will watch this and return to old habits. They will nod, agree, and continue reacting. That is expected. Systems remain stable because most people do not change. But if you apply this silently, consistently, without announcement, you will notice a shift that does not require validation. Conversations will slow. Resistance will soften. Authority will appear without demand. If you want to test this, do not announce it. Do not explain it. Apply it once this week. When pressure arrives, pause. When provoked, wait. When clarity is demanded, withhold until timing favors you. Then observe. And if you recognize a shift when it happens, if you feel the room adjust before anyone speaks, leave a comment describing the moment you realize calm had become leverage, not for approval, for confirmation. Because once you experience it, you will understand why this knowledge is never taught openly, and why those who master it rarely need to explain themselves again.